Ladies and gentlemen, the Democrat Socialist Party still doesn't get it. Ladies and gentlemen, the Democrat Socialist Party in Texas still doesn't get why Texans aren't voting for him. Let's take a look, shall we? Ladies and gentlemen, AOC-backed Texas candidate Jessica Cisneros loses recount. Moderate Dem Rep Henry Cuellar advances to general. Cuellar is a pro-life Democrat in Congress, which triggered many in his party to support his progressive challenger. Notice in his party. Okay, so a few things they aren't getting here. I'm gonna get to the article in a minute. You could bring in all the New York City people you want to Texas. It doesn't matter to us. We do not care. We don't care about AOC. You see, BetoO'Rourke brought it down. Doesn't mean anything to us. Stay in New York. There's a long history of traditional Texans not liking New Yorkers. Just is what it is. Then there's a historical reason behind it, and I did that in an earlier video. I think it was a year ago or so. You can go back and watch that one if you want the history behind it. In a blow to leftist Democrats, Texas congressional candidate Jessica Cisneros, who was endorsed by Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez of New York, has lost a recount for her party's nomination. Incumbent Rep. Henry Cuellar, Democrat from Texas, faced Justice Democrats. Whoa, let's stop there. Let's stop. Now, remember, they used to be the Socialist Democrats. They changed it to Justice Democrats. Branding is very important. You notice when we got closer to these November elections, they changed what they were called. They want you to forget they're socialist. Luckily, there's enough tape out there in the era we live in. You can always go back and look it up and see what they actually stand for. Endorsed Cisneros in a tight runoff election that was too close to call for weeks, leading to a recount request from Cisneros, which concluded Tuesday that Cuellar not only won, but had a few more votes than he initially reported. Let's skip down a little bit. The usual, even for those who didn't vote for me, I'm still your congressman. We always knew this was an uphill battle, Cisneros said in a statement conceding to Cuellar. She blamed a corrupt political machine, Republican-funded super PAC, the Koch brothers, private prisons, big oil, the Chamber of Commerce, dark money groups, big pharma, nearly the entire Democratic Party establishment in Washington for opposing her. Now, you saw I read earlier in that article where the Democratic establishment actually opposed her opponent because he was pro-life. See, here's the problem they're not getting right. What works in New York won't necessarily work in Texas. What works in LA won't necessarily work in Miami. What works in Seattle won't necessarily work in Arizona, Phoenix. Different places, different expectations. Tammy made a comment when we first got back here. She goes, wow, Texas has a lot of churches. Yeah, we're very religious people. So that plays into it. Also, we're very pro-Second Amendment, which they're trying to strip right now. They're trying to pass a bill. They already got it through and written in the middle of the night. Nobody could see and took a vote on it, taking further votes today. They're anti-First Amendment. You can't say what you want, think what you want. God forbid you go on one of these social media sites, probably except for Rumble and True Social, which I got to get on True Social. I heard Trump is being hilarious over there. And they don't see it. It's not all these, because you could say the Koch brothers. What about Soros? Soros is giving more money in the last 2 years to Democrats than the Koch brothers have to Republicans. What about that? Also, you got to look at the whole totality. I like it when they say stuff like this, when they blame everybody, even the people who support them. Here's why I like it. Let me tell you. Because they're not realizing it's their failed policies. Look at any city controlled by a progressive socialist Democrat city council mayor with these Soros backed DAs. They've become absolute crap. They have. Los Angeles, San Francisco. One of the stepsons lives in Los Angeles. He's like, it's so horrible, you can't even walk down the street. There's a few blocks from work. He has to take an Uber so he doesn't get robbed. He doesn't get the hell out of there. Seattle became absolute crap. But they're not realizing it's their policies. Close all federal prisons in 10 years. Do you know how crazy that sounds to most people? Pelosi is literally telling you, you can't go on social media websites and say what you want to say. And they're twisting the arm of these big social media companies to ban you, restrict you. Take this, right? Ask yourself this, if you have leftist friends, how many of them have been banned in the last year? Now look at your conservative friends and see how many of them have been banned. You'll see a major difference. See now, what else? Safe needle projects. Hell, Oregon just made all drugs legal. I think Canada did the same thing. The biggest part, though, is restricting your gun rights. They're silly policies. Critical race theory. Abortions on demand. Grooming your kids from pre-K to third grade. They had a fit when DeSantis came out and said, you can't do that. See how bad they exploded? Even though they still went there for vacation. It's just stuff like this. I don't think they're getting that. They don't understand. We're tired of a silly people. I said yesterday in a video that got misconstrued by certain people. It's okay. It happens. I should have been clearer. Sometimes I get in a rush because I don't want these videos to be too long. But what I'm going to start doing is just taking my time and completely explain my thoughts and what I'm thinking. If you agree, you agree. If you don't, you don't. It's fine. I don't mind at all. The less that they see that their policies are failing and are responsible for them losing, the better off we are. Look at this Jane's Revenge thing. It's bad enough they've been protesting in front of Supreme Court justices' houses for, what, weeks now? Pelosi's encouraging it, Biden through his what's her name? Not Jen Psaki. Speaker of the House is encouraging it. You know, the black gay woman. It's not really black. Black is a culture, not a skin tone. People don't get that. There's a reason I say that. Did a video about it. Go watch it. Anyway, they're encouraging it. Even though Justice Kavanaugh was almost murdered if he wouldn't have had security there. Maybe kidnapped and murdered. The guy had zip ties. They're a joke. The entire woke movement, the Democratic Socialists are a joke. Now here's the problem. You can't take them as a joke. We need every vote to turn out. If you want to save your Second Amendment rights, you see they're trying to push that through. And I have a theory on that. And perhaps this theory is wrong. I've said it before, but I'll say it again. Perhaps this theory is wrong. Don't get me wrong. Maybe I'm wrong. If you'll look in December of 2020, when Democrats were urging BLM to go out and BLM and Antifa to go out and get in people's face, threaten, harass people, burn down cities. Those cities were unarmed. Now they tried the same thing down here in Austin, but our state laws regarding guns and self-defense are different. And so you see one of the protesters got shot. Well, don't point guns at people. Play dumbass games, win dumbass prizes. It is what it is. So anyway, the story goes, this guy took a wrong turn down the street. He was delivering for Uber Eats, and there was a protest blocking off the road. He's trying to get out. Guy points a rifle at him, shoots him with a pistol, perfectly legal in Texas. Don't point your rifle at people. Remember, never point a firearm at anything you're not willing to kill. And knowing that if you point a firearm at me, I'm assuming you're willing to kill me, which is, this kid was Air Force or retired Air Force. It's probably what he thought too. Can you blame him? Any reasonable person would think that if you're pointing a gun at me, you probably plan to shoot me. Better pull that trigger quick. Their policies do not work. Everywhere their policies go, crime rates rise, homelessness rises, food shortages, this push towards green energy. Here's the problem. Green energy isn't so green. It inspires slavery. Right now, there's little African kids over in Africa digging lithium mines at the behest of the Chinese so they can supply these democratic socialists, these woke people with their lithium batteries for their electric cars. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, you're one of those. So think about that before you go buy an electric car. There's no 14-year-olds working in oil fields in the United States. And if they are, man, they're making a buku of money. The stuff like that, the less they realize it's their policies, not the rest of the Democratic platform. It's not super PACs. It's not a plot. Your policies just don't work. Now, the article I just read, it was between two Democrats. See, the one was pro-life, probably pro-Second Amendment. So I guess the Democrats would call him a dino. Democrat name only. Which is kind of okay, kind of not. I'd rather have a Republican. I know they're going to stick stronger, but he held his guns. So will he win in the general? No, I think Texas is going to go deep red, except for in some of the major cities, Austin, Houston. But even a lot of those people are wanting to go back to California. Go back to that shithole. And not all of California, Los Angeles, San Francisco. You go to parts of like rural California. I've driven through California a number of times. And it's actually kind of like being in Texas. But you hit those cities, like you go to Austin, it's not even like being in Texas. It's a whole different experience. But they're not realizing what's going on, which works to our advantage. So let them keep thinking there's a big conspiracy. No, people aren't believing you. They're tired of you pushing your bullshit. Let's get into pronouns, shall we? The reason I want to get into pronouns on this video, one of the generals in the UK just came out and told his troops, get prepared to go to World War III against Russia and beat them. Russia said, we're already at World War III. Now, keep in mind, all this is happening within a week of each other. China, a general in China came out, told his troops, be prepared to go into World War III. What did our Navy do last week? They released a training video on how to use correct pronouns. I encourage you all to go YouTube it. It's too long for me to put on here. And honestly, I wouldn't do that to you. But think about the silliness involved. That whole party structure is silly. You mean to tell me you have three major superpowers telling their troops, get ready to go to World War III, while we're reducing our Navy, our Air Force, our Army, and putting out videos on him, he, she, they, them, whatever. Does that sound like a winning formula to you? They will release Jane's revenge upon you, leave your borders open to invasion, and at the same time, disarm you. Does that sound like a winning strategy? That's why I'm saying November is so important. So important. We have to have major wins in November, then we have to have the major win of 2024. There's no losing in this. There's no losing. I don't know if we could you imagine another 6 years under the control of the Democratic Socialist Party? Don't give up your guns, ladies and gentlemen. So either this weekend or next weekend. This weekend, I'm probably going to do my, didn't get a chance last weekend, home defense video. It's just going to be a short video, a couple of minutes. It's going to be up on Dawson Defense LLC Facebook page. I might put it up on here too. No, I'm put it up on the Facebook page. But I'll have Kevin Sona on. He's a member and leader of several Second Amendment groups, so he's better prepared to speak to this than I am. As his primary focus is the Second Amendment. So I want to get him on here, get some expertise. He could tell you who to contact. Make sure you're contacting your senators and your congressmen or women, all that good stuff. But I'm gonna have Kevin Sona on. He's gonna talk about the Second Amendment. I'm just gonna pretty much let him go. I might sign on and then let him do the show unless I have a question. That's probably what I'm gonna do. I think that's the way I like to do my interviews. Even if you're talking and I'm disagreeing with you, I'll still let you talk. I think that's appropriate. But so that's going to be happening. Like I said, either that video will go up this week or next weekend. All right, like, subscribe, share, and as always, especially in these days and times, call all those votes. Keep your powder dry. Do what you got to do.